I'm pleased to tell you a little bit about our aspirations this afternoon, but first I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I think Paula embellished a little bit. I'm not really as interesting as that, I'm afraid. But I am proud to say I'm from Edmonton, and I've been part of the executive team at the Journal for well over a decade. You know, and during that time, I've led the advertising department through some years of explosive growth through the 2000s. But we've also been through a couple of really difficult recessions, and it's kind of shaped my thinking. I have to tell you, I'm very energized by the prospect of leading the Journal and what promises to be its most exciting phase in our long and distinguished history. My career is always focused on building new products and new ways of doing things, so I absolutely relish this opportunity to lead the Journal right now. I feel a little bit like a kid in a candy store when I think about the possibilities of our digital future. I think it's fitting, just to give you a little context of why we chose this venue tonight, because I think it's fitting that our marketing people chose it. It opened in 1997, just as we were emerging from a very difficult economy. And it served as a great source of information for this city. It served as a sign of optimism, and I think it was a transformative moment when this center opened in 1997. In 2001, some of you may have been here, in 2001 we celebrated the Journal's 100th anniversary in this building. And we were entertained that night, believe it or not, for our staff and guest by Michael Bublé. A few months later, he became an international superstar, and we like to say that the Edmonton Journal was transformative in his career. You know, there are pundits that predict the end of news media as we know it. But we, the Journal, are excited as we embrace the possibilities that new technology has opened to us. The fact is, we've never reached as many people as we do now in a week. We've never been able to connect, engage, and interact with our readers to anything close to what we're able to do now. We have unprecedented opportunities to provide depth and breadth of coverage, expanded community news, community input, conversation, interaction, and hugely improved relevance to many communities of interest. As a result, we are opening our channels of communication and collaborations and partnerships with businesses, community groups, industry associations, educational institutions, government, the not-for-profit sector, and engaged and interested people throughout the community. But these aren't just words. I want to give you some examples of how this is unfolding right now at the Edmonton Journal. Taste Alberta is a partnership with Alberta's agriculture industry. It's a partnership between producers, retailers, industry associations, and the Edmonton Journal that showcases Alberta food and healthy eating choices to our print and online audiences. Each Wednesday, Alberta food products are featured on our Taste Alberta page within the Edmonton Journal. The stories are sourced, written, and presented by our award-winning editorial staff, and Leanne is right up front here and is the quarterback of that and does a fantastic job. But that's not all. Online, Taste Alberta microsites are on our newspaper websites, and they're the portal for the many voices and interests engaged in this vital industry. Agriculture is second only to the oil business in Alberta, and I think in some measures it might even be first. But we have aggregated the best bloggers, linked to the best content providers, developed followers of Twitter and Facebook. We've developed 2D scan codes, those are those little square code things, so content can be delivered to mobile devices and accessed anywhere, anytime, on demand. And you know what? Feedback from the industry and also from our readership has been absolutely outstanding and overwhelmingly positive. We are clearly raising the profile and awareness of Alberta food producers, and we are filling a valuable need to educate consumers on healthy eating choices using local food products. But as importantly, and maybe even more importantly, we are learning to connect with our community, with our city, on whatever platform, whether it's digital, print, or mobile, in ways that work for them. Many of our guests today represent not-for-profit organizations in Edmonton that do so many amazing and important things. Working with these stakeholders, we are in the beginning stages of replicating the Taste Alberta format and bringing voices and information together in a quality editorial environment to educate, inform, and hopefully inspire our readers to engage in community service. Our next planning meeting is April 29th at the Edmonton Community Foundation, and I have high hopes that in the near future we'll be able to launch new initiatives that will have a significant and fundamental impact in the volunteer and nonprofit sectors. I could go on and tell you about our health club partnership with the YMCA that promoted participation in fitness over the past 12 weeks to great success, and we had hundreds of people in the community following the program online. And I could tell you about our partnership with the Edmonton Eskimos for the best Grey Cup festival ever, but I think I've made the point. The Journal is looking to partner and collaborate with you to tell your stories with the new tools we have available in this digital age. This is an invitation to build our community together and to let the world know what a fantastic city we have. We are a digital-first news organization with a proud and continuing print legacy and a reputation for journalistic excellence. Through our new community newsroom pilot project, we will be offering new and varied voices from the community. We've learned a lot in the social media realm, and we have some of the country's leading social media experts on staff. We intend to share this knowledge with our city, and by offering complimentary internships to your organizations to learn how to use these powerful communication tools. I'd like to develop further programs that reach out and solicit community input, so please give us your thoughts, your suggestions, and your feedback. This city is on the cusp of a new economic boom. I think the Arena Project and the Royal Alberta Museum are symbolic signs of a dynamic city on the move. We're excited and looking forward to working with you to tell your stories and to help build this community together. At this time, I want to introduce to you our new editor-in-chief, Lucinda Chodan. She's our news leader, and Lucinda is a native Albertan, a highly honored journalist and an acknowledged leader in quality journalism with Michener Awards, and she's a leader in newsroom transformation as we move to a digital-first platform. I feel very fortunate we were able to convince her to come home to Alberta and to Edmonton to lead the Edmonton Journal newsroom. And I'm going to call upon you, Lucinda, if you would, to come up and talk to our guests. Thank you.
Thanks, John, and thank you to all of you for joining us here this evening. As John says, like him, I'm a native Albertan. I was born in the Royal Alexandra Hospital and was taken back to Grassland, which is where my mom and dad were living at the time. I spent most of my childhood in Westlock, and I attended the University of Alberta, where I actually got my start in journalism as a typesetter at the Gateway, which is a student newspaper there. Yeah. So, however, I had the bad judgment to leave Edmonton back when Peter Lougheed was premier, and became a reporter at the Montreal Gazette. Over the 2 decades that followed, I traveled to Paris, Beijing, various points in North America, and several less glamorous locales. If any of you are familiar with Rimouski, Val-d'Or, and Drummondville, you know what I mean. For the last 6 years, I've been in Victoria on beautiful Vancouver Island as editor-in-chief of the Times columnist there. However, over all that time, I never stopped missing Alberta. So when John invited me to become part of his new team at the Journal, I jumped at the chance. I now found myself at the helm of my hometown newspaper at a time that is an incredibly exciting time for the Journal. Our newspaper is in the midst of revolutionizing the way we interact with our community. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that. When I began my career, newspapers had only one way of interacting. Each afternoon, senior editors would get together in a room. They would discuss what they believed to be the top stories of the day, and you got to find out about it when you picked up a paper that had arrived on your doorstep the next morning at 6:30 a.m. or so. Now our journalists are there with the news when you want it. Our website, edmontonjournal.com, is being updated almost 24/7, and last month there were 9.2 million visits to it. In addition, we have a mobile optimized version of the Journal, and we produce 2 iPad editions every weekday. These days, if you want to connect with our journalists, you don't have to write a letter to the editor and drop it in the mailbox. You can email any of us directly, follow us on Twitter, become a Journal friend on Facebook, and follow us as we explore with you all the new technologies that are revolutionizing the way we live our lives. Connect is the operative word in the equation that I'd like to stress. As Paula said, it is also the biggest change in the way we decide what to cover and how to cover it every day. The old way of practicing journalism was pretty well top down. We decided and you consumed. Now, readers influence much of what we do, from the stories we pursue to the prominence that those stories receive in print and online. And I'd like to give you a couple of examples recently of that. We have a program called Chartbeat that allows us to see what people are reading on our website. It's a program that refreshes every 8 seconds, so we can look and see exactly what people are reading. If there's a hot topic, we can move it up to the top of the website, and we can consider it for the page 1 lineup. That happened back in February when we obtained an audio tape of Oiler goalie Nikolai Habibulin, his trial for drunk driving in Arizona. We also learned that he planned to appeal the drunk driving conviction, but we weren't sure it was exactly a page 1 story. However, as an experiment, we posted it on our website, and the web traffic went absolutely through the roof. So we immediately moved it up to the top spot on our website, homepage, and we added it to the page 1 lineup the next day. Yesterday, in another example, you saw a short front page story about the return of the Journal Goose Cam. That's a webcam, for those of you who have missed this development, that allows us to monitor a goose sitting on her nest somewhere near Edmonton, in a very secret location. This is the 4th consecutive year that we've been featuring the goose cam on our website, and we put the story about its return on page 1 because last year there were 220,000 page views of our goose cam, and we were getting emails all through the past month asking us whether the goose and the goose cams were going to be coming back this year. Both of those instances are make evident the kind of precise information that we have never had before about what readers are interested in and what they want to read more about. I'd like to talk about a couple of other examples of how readers are influencing the actual coverage of our city. On April 6th, City Council debated the proposed downtown arena. Columnist David Staples live-blogged a long and often excitable discussion at Council, giving readers on our website a minute-by-minute account of what was going on and commenting on the debate. More than 4,000 readers tuned in and either jumped in and talked about the topic with him and each other or read about the lively debate. Last week, we invited Edmonton candidates for the major political parties in the federal election to come and speak to our editorial board about what they saw as the important issues for our city. Now, for those of you who haven't been invited to an editorial board, these are gatherings where we assemble the decision leaders in our newsroom and reporters and are given the privilege of talking to other community leaders about their feelings, opinions, and we are able to question them. This time around, one of our web producers live-blogged the discussion, giving online readers constant updates about what the candidates were saying. In addition, we invited readers to ask their own questions, so they've had access in a way that we've never been able to allow them to have that access before, to the politicians that were speaking to us. After the event was over, we put the audio file on our website. You could read it there now. Those are just some of the ways that readers are getting a say in our news coverage. And that's going to increase even more as we build a community newsroom that will incorporate more readers and more of you into our information gathering and sharing circle. This community newsroom will be inviting local bloggers, interested readers, and other people to work with us to assign and to cover the news, and to use the Journal online as a place to meet and interact with like-minded individuals. In other words, our community newsroom will be a shared project with all of you, and a new iteration of the relationship that the Journal has had with this community for the past 108 years. To underscore that commitment, I'm happy to announce that we will be offering 2 community newsroom internships to students at local post-secondary institutions. We think those internships will allow us to fulfill what I see as an important part of our responsibility to this community, which is to provide opportunities and training to local students and to pass the journalistic torch on to the next generation in a cutting-edge area of our profession. We're also going to be creating a community advisory committee to help us ensure that we are in tune with the city we live and work in. We'll be soliciting volunteers for that committee starting next week, although if any of you have cards and have not yet given one to me, pass them on. We're going to be asking that committee to provide input on an ongoing basis for what we do and how we do it. Look for more details about the initiative in print and online next week. As John said, there are pundits out there predicting the death of newspapers. As the editor of a major daily newspaper, I can tell you that pundits are occasionally wrong. And I can assure you that in this case, they've completely missed the boat. Our commitment to journalistic excellence at Edmonton has not wavered over the past century. It is not changing now. With your help, we will continue to be the #1 source for news for this community, however and whenever our readers want it. I look forward to working with all of you to achieve that goal. Thank you.